What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the Undergrad Forum. Now, today's video is going to be in response to a viewer comment left on the video of how to make med school completely manageable. Hopefully you guys like that video. Alright, so here is the question left by viewer AZNSS1. I don't know what that means. Hopefully you like your name. All right, let's see. So the question is, what do you think about study groups? And would that also help us to be more focused and learn the material a lot quicker? So two questions there. What do you think about study groups? And do they actually make you more focused and learn the material quicker? And I'll add the question, if not, what does? All right. So just generally with respect to study groups, I have to mention as a disclaimer, kind of right on at the onset here, that I don't use study groups. So my opinion will be a bit biased because I don't like them very much. But I do like review sessions with other people, so I'll try to bring in this distinction. Okay, so study groups. What do I think about them? I don't like them. Why? Okay, so in undergrad, so in the very beginning of undergrad, when I was first year, or we called them freshmen, I used study groups. It was like the first couple of weeks of school, and I was like, "Oh, everyone's doing study groups. Looks like the thing to do in college. I'll do it too." If you ask yourself three questions regarding what you're doing when you're studying, one, am I learning the material well? Two, am I staying like strict to my schedule and not wasting time? And number three, am I being unnecessarily distracted? If you have the right answers to those questions with whatever study technique you're doing, then stick with it. But I asked myself those three questions when I started doing study groups in the beginning of college. And what I found was that I wasn't getting a lot of bang for my buck. And what I mean by that is that the time I was spending with my study group, that length of time that I was spending with them, I wasn't getting anything more out of it than I would by myself. I was actually getting less out of it than if I was studying by myself, and I didn't like that. To me, if you're doing something that takes more effort, or if you're doing something, you should be getting a lot of value for your time. And you should always pick an option in which you're getting the most, right? So if you're studying by yourself and you kind of switch over to studying in a group to see how it is, if there's no added value from studying in a group, why do it? And especially if there's less value, boy, get out of it quick. And vice versa with studying in a group to studying alone. Do whatever gives you the most value. For me, I personally found that if I study in a group, I had two big problems. One, when I ask people today, like, so why do you guys study in groups? A lot of people say, I get two main answers. The first being that working in groups allows me to stay focused and concentrated, keeps me from like slacking off or getting distracted. And if that's the case for you, that's perfectly fine. If you remember in that video, which this question's in response to of how to make the first year of medical school completely manageable, I make a big deal about staying very military and dedicated to your schedule, not hitting snooze, not taking too long of breaks, really studying in a focused manner. If you have a hard time doing that by yourself and study groups as the means by which you keep yourself focused, that's fine. But I mean, I was able to do it myself, so that wasn't there for me. And the second thing I heard was that, if there's something that I need help learning, I can usually get a classmate to help me out because you're in a group. You ask a group member, hey, do you guys understand this topic, et cetera, et cetera. What I figured out about that is that there's two things on that. First, the content in undergrad and even the content in medical school, it's not super tough. I mean, it is challenging. It does require some thought. Sometimes you really have to mull it over or, get into office hours or discuss with a classmate, but it's never like impossible, right? So you can figure it out by yourself, or the next day ask the professor in office hours or ask one of your classmates and work it out and figure it out. There's no, asking the next day to figure out a topic is not going to ruin your whole schedule. But to me, what I found is that when I was working in a group, say it's like a group of, I don't know, 4 people, or even 6, I've always noticed that there's really a spectrum of how well you know the content. So if you guys are coming to a group study and one person knows the content pretty well, one person hasn't even touched it, one person's if there's such a wide spectrum, the person that knows it really well, they're going to be doing a lot of teaching. The person that doesn't know it at all is going to be kind of scrambling. I mean, it's such a kind of a weird thing to me. Some people swear by it. I actually remember our immuno professor in medical school made a big thing about studying groups. Groups are the secret to medical school. Groups, groups, groups. And I disagree. And I remember actually when he said that, I kind of, because Amina was in the beginning of the year for me, and I kind of freaked out. I was like, oh man, what if groups are the secret to medical school? What am I doing? I'm messing up, and I started panicking. So I asked my big sib and I asked some other second years, man, can you do the first year of medical school alone? And everyone's like, dude, absolutely. And having finished the first year, I will resonate with their answer, absolutely. You do not have to study in groups if you do not want to. If you like studying by yourself, study by yourself. I studied by myself all throughout undergrad and studied all by myself all throughout the first year of medical school, and it worked out fine. But I'll tell you a little subtle point regarding study groups and how I use them in a different way to make it efficient. By studying by yourself, a lot of people do it and it works perfectly fine. You can do it yourself. There proof in plenty of students that I know who do it themselves and it works out just fine. So don't ever be tricked into thinking you need to do a study group. If you don't want to, don't do it. Work by yourself. But what I do think is a positive thing about a study group is, this is kind of the tweak I did in both undergrad and in med school, is that I never used it as a true study group. I never used that time with other classmates to study, learn the material for first time or de novo. Never that. We kind of like developed them into like review groups where like you would kind of meet up and you would just kind of quiz each other on content. You would prepare questions, you would write them down or whatever. This worked really well for anatomy. Again, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Sometimes I just never did because I don't know, I wasn't in the mood, I guess, I don't know. And I just wanted to be myself in anatomy. But regardless of that minor point, having more of like review sessions with classmates is really much more productive than, in my opinion, having a study group. Because if you have a true review session, that is a high output time. That is proficient because at that point, hopefully all of you, everyone in the group has learned the content well, and now you guys can grill each other. You'll learn in medical school, it's called pimping. You'll pimp each other with questions, and you can very quickly hopefully find out the weaknesses in your understanding, because someone's going to ask you a question and you're not going to know the answer, and that will just get you mad, and you'll figure it, and you'll recognize your gaps, hopefully, if you have the right group of people knowing each other and kind of doing this fly question asking to each other, really grilling content to say, explain this or answer this question. And if you can't, you know a gap in your knowledge now. So that is a value that you can't do yourself. And that I did in both undergrad and to some moderate amount in med school. And I thought that was a value. So that's my kind of spin on study groups, aka review sessions that are really intense. Really, I thought they were beneficial because it lets you see the holes in your knowledge. If you just keep studying, going over your notes, maybe you'll find the holes, maybe you won't. But either way, I thought that was a nice little minor thing to do with study groups. Okay, enough on that. If you guys want more questions about study groups I didn't mention, leave a question or comment or whatever you want, and I'll try to address a more thorough answer if you have a very specific question. All right, so the second part of this question by the viewer was, would working in a group help you be more focused, and will it help you learn material more quickly? With respect to focus, if working in a group keeps you military in your time and dedicated to a schedule, go for it. Personally, I found that I was less focused in study groups when I tried them, like a true study group, because I have the bad habit of, if there is a lot of people around, I kind of like to talk to people, I mean, maybe that's why we're in med school, I don't know. But I mean, I'm kind of chatty, I'm a little bit too social when there's other people around. So I kind of like working by myself because I can really focus. And with that comment of being focused, I just found that if I like to, if I'm learning material, thinking about material, I kind of like to be by myself and just not distracted. I just kind of like to sit there and think, walk around, think about the content, kind of make a story in my mind. That's not for everyone. Maybe it's just me, it's a personal preference, whatever. But you have to be very honest with yourself and say, hey, am I more focused by myself or with a group? And you really pick, even, if you're leaning towards one because you like one more than the other, you really got to just put that aside and really ask yourself, where am I most focused? And the second question is, or a third part now is, will working in a group help me learn the material quicker? That I don't know. But I think to me, the most important thing that I've noticed that helps me learn the material quicker is being more focused. And I do that by eliminating like mental distractions. Um, if there's something you're thinking about, whatever it is, home, your finances, your personal life, anything at all that's on your mind you're thinking about, that is an inherent distraction that's keeping you from being really focused on your content. One thing I do to alleviate that, because it's completely natural, you're studying and something pops into your mind and you think about it, how I get around that is like next to my desk I have this like notepad thing here, and so if I'm like studying and a question comes up in my mind, or if I need to do something, or something comes to mind, I just write it down real quick. And the beauty of that is you've written it down on the notepad, and now, like, you can tell yourself, okay, you know what? It's written down. I can handle it later. I can handle it during the 15-minute break between my hour studying, or whatever. You can handle it later because now you've written it down. You've pushed it aside. Get back to focusing. That's one thing I do, because to me, I've noticed that which allows me to learn material a lot quicker is being inherently more focused. And any kind of mental distraction really gets me distracted and doesn't let me focus well. So I like to be really calm, relaxed, kind of in a mellow state, and then I can really soak up material and learn it well. All right, so that's the end of this video. I hope I answered the question well regarding study groups, how to make yourself more focused and learn the material hopefully as a result more quickly. Let me know if you guys have any other questions regarding study groups or anything I've talked about, any questions you have de novo. And look out for a video I got coming up pretty soon regarding how to memorize things easier and more readily. It's not a scam or anything, it's just something I do. Maybe you can try it, it helps. Maybe it'll help you. All right, that brings it into this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, enjoy your studies.